Leave it to Chainsaw Man to make a slice of life chapter seem so down and depressing, but that's essentially what this chapter is. There is not a lot of dialogue, and it's mostly focusing on the visual storytelling of what is going on with Denji right now as he tries to live this so-called normal life that he's always wanted from before, but now he's being forced to in the fact that he can't turn into Chainsaw Man or else they are going to kill Nayuta. And this chapter very, very much focuses on the relationship dynamic between Denji and Nayuta. And I think it's really important, especially for things moving forward. Now, getting this chapter, after waiting a week and reading through it in the, minute and a half that it takes you to read this chapter, it can feel a little bit disappointing, especially with the sense of, as we've been saying, I really can't predict the direction that the story is going right now. And that, I would say, is overall a good thing. I don't like being able to predict everything that's going to happen in a story, but because there's so much kind of up in the air and we're waiting chapter to chapter for some kind of big event or big reveal, chapters like this can feel very slow and kind of like padding. But I think that there is something really important that's happening here, and I think it goes along with what is happening with Denji internally and what's happening between the relationship between him and Nayuta. And also this could be a potential setup for disaster as well, because there's a little bit of like red death flags kind of thrown about here as well. But let's just kind of take this from what I think the chapter is trying to say. I think that this is definitely showing a couple of things. One, as we go back to the very beginning of Chainsaw Man, Denji always wanting a normal life, and that is essentially what he has here. Now, he is responsible for taking care of Nayuta, and Nayuta is much more of like a younger sister vibe than him having a girlfriend or anything like that, but it's a love, it's a bond, it's a connection between the two characters that is stronger than anything Denji has ever really experienced before, and it's the thing in his life that means the most to him, and I think that it means more to him. It's showing in this chapter that Nayuta means more to him than him becoming Chainsaw Man, right? Than him doing what he wants to do when he sees the devil attacking in the streets and he goes for the chain and he doesn't pull it because he looks at Nayuta and he realizes that he can't, right? Because she's under that threat. Now, at the same time, I also think that by being Chainsaw Man and doing all the things that happened in part one and into part two, particularly, kind of like the beginning of part two, where Denji was kind of like in the most control that he's ever been in his life, he's found a purpose and an identity with Chainsaw Man. It's more than him just kind of transforming and fighting for his life. It's something that is his and his alone. It's something that he can ultimately control when he wants to transform, how he wants to do it, what he does while in that state. Like, it's all about him actually having choice over his life. And I think a lot of the themes that are happening here in part two is kind of like, the personal choice that somebody has, or the lack of which that somebody has when they're in control by either, government or an organization or whatever Yoshida is with, or the church, the Church of Chainsaw Man, these other things that are outside of yourself that are deciding every single step you take rather than you being able to decide for yourself. And Denji had inadvertently, in a way that he'd never expected, found something that worked for him, something that he could attach to identify with, that he felt sort of this sense of purpose with. And no matter how much, pain that it gave him along the way, it still gave him that sense of purpose. Whereas now he's living this mundane, normal life. And I think a lot of people can relate to this, no matter how old you are, whether you're around Denji's age or you're an adult, when you just do the same repetitive motion every single day, you go to the store and you go to work and you come home and you watch TV and then you give the dogs a bath and you go to bed and you just do the same thing all the time without fulfilling that part of you that longs to like put something out there, to be something, to create something, to have a sense of purpose, a sense of identity, something you're building towards. It's like something in your life, you don't have it, or you did have it in the sense of Denji being Chainsaw Man, and then it's taken away. Sorry, my little pop stopper is not attaching to the desk properly. Denji's put into this position where none of this stuff really means anything to him, and what he really wants to do is be his true self, which is Chainsaw Man, but he can't because of Nayuta. However, I do think that when it comes to this, for Denji as a character, to have somebody in his life that he truly cares about, that he truly loves, that he is responsible for. The first time, Denji's ever been responsible for anybody other than himself, really. I mean, I guess you could say Pochita, but, there's that. It kind of is almost worth it. And it kind of like parallels, and this might sound like super depressing, but you know, a lot of times when people do have someone they have to take care of, whether it's a child or a younger sibling or a whole family or something like that, like they will sacrifice the things that they really want to do in order to make sure that that loved one is provided for and protected, right? And to see Denji here not being able to sleep, you know, he's thinking about it. And this is all just done through imaging. There's no dialogue, but like you see him thinking about it. And Nayuta wakes up and asks him if he's feeling okay. And she's like, you know, saying, I'm going to stay with you no matter what. And it gives you one of those kind of like soft, tender moments where it's like, maybe this love is worth it. Maybe this is worth the sacrifice. Maybe this is worth the pain. You know, I can imagine, like, I don't have kids, but I can imagine, like, you know, you'd do anything for them, right? You'd sacrifice your own well-being and the things that you want in order for them to be able to thrive. And that's kind of what's happening here. Maybe I'm looking into this too deeply. Maybe I'm getting too depressing with it. I don't know. But it almost makes it worth it, right? It almost makes it worth it to do it because of that bond. And then Denji is actually able to fall asleep when he embraces Nayuta and realizes that she is going to be there. And you know what? Everything else is whatever's happening, the apocalypse, the church chainsaw man, whatever the fuck is happening out there. I have this. And this is something that I've never had before. The only plot progression we really get is at the very end of the chapter where we see the hybrids all kind of sitting together. And I was a little bit confused by the dialogue. It doesn't seem that confusing, but it is a little bit, where they say that tomorrow is the Chainsaw Man day of worship. The followers won't hunt any devils that appear, so everyone in the church is not going to be hunting devils, but the public safety devil hunters will come crawling out if we keep killing them. Chainsaw Man's sense of justice will brim over and he'll arrive to defeat the devils. So I'm assuming because of their lack of involvement, this is their way to kind of draw Denji out to become Chainsaw Man. Now, they also mention the one guy who says, you know, we have these things in common because we're the hybrids and humans and we're all born, we're all designed to kill, which there's some darkness and some truth, you know, designed with that. But at the end, the final panel says, and that's why God will forgive us, because no matter how many people we kill tomorrow, well, that's it. He says God will forgive us because of no matter how many people we kill tomorrow. Now, when he says the word God, is he talking about a literal God, or is he talking about Chainsaw Man? Because the Church of Chainsaw Man worships Chainsaw Man, therefore would they view him like a deity, like a god? Or is Chainsaw Man more like Jesus, and then there's a god, you know, kind of in the hierarchy, but Jesus is God, and then impregnated, and Jesus and God and Trinity, there's a ghost somewhere. I don't know. Religion's weird. But what I'm basically saying is this attempting to introduce, you know, a god-like figure in this universe? We have devils, right? Are we kind of advancing and attempting to introduce an opposition to that? Or is it just literally meant to be like God, Chainsaw Man is interchangeable? With a series like this, I don't really know how to take it, because my initial thought would be like, oh, it's just God, Chainsaw Man, you know, it's interchangeable. But with a series like Chainsaw Man that does so much batshit crazy stuff that comes out of nowhere, I wouldn't even put it past them to introduce a god, you know, type character. So I don't know, man. But I do think that this is more of a character building chapter, which I really enjoy. I love character stuff. And, you know, you can have the greatest plot in the world, but if without great characters, it doesn't work. And I think that this really showcased a lot for Denji, especially for part 2, because so much of the beginning of part 2 was so focused on Asa, and I do really love her as well as a character. But it's very, very nice to see these Denji chapters and to see where his headspace is at right now. So we'll see where things go moving forward. Apparently, there's going to be some kind of crazy chaos and an attempt to draw Chainsaw Man out. So we will see. Let me know what you guys thought about this chapter down below. Do you agree with sort of like what I feel the themes of it are, or is it a little bit different? Something I missed? Let me know that down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up and a comment to help it in the algorithm. I'd appreciate it if you did so. And if you want to support the channel on a deeper level, I have Patreon, channel memberships, merch store, link down below, as well as the various social media links where you can follow me. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you next time.